I think it's because it's easy to be afraid, and it's easy to keep ourselves small. But it's actually hard to say, well, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to do the hard stuff.
Hmm.
I'm going to do stuff that's difficult. And I'm going to just see how far I can go. It means stepping out of your comfort zone. Um, I did a ton of like coaching and stuff. And what that really taught me was how if you can just imagine what the future is, step into that future, just you can achieve incredible things. And
Yeah.
it's scary.
Yeah,
It
it
is scary.
is. It is. We don't know what our real potential is, and we don't always test it. And I think when we do, we recognize how much more we could be. And that could be a lawyer that doesn't think he or she is a rainmaker, could be a rainmaker, right? It could be someone who, wants to be an entrepreneur and doesn't realize, that, and it's hard. No one's going to argue that it's hard. It's you just don't understand what your potential is. And I think you and I, as coaches, have a great insight, not only on our potential, but also on the people we work with and seeing what their true potential is. And that it's scary for them. It's a little scary for us sometimes. But then when it's released and harnessed, I mean, it's like the whole world changes and opens up. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not, it's not that far away. I think you and I know that it doesn't often take very much, but it just takes a bit of a change in mindset and boom,
Hmm.
things start to happen. And it's
Yeah.
so exciting.
Sometimes like a snowball rolling down a hill. Everybody, we are listening to Cecilia Poullain, Sasu. You are so interesting. I mean, on a number of levels, but just an Australian, living in Paris, having worked in the UK and finance and law. And I don't want to give too much of your background. I don't want to take away your steam, but give us a little background on how you came to be leading into working with women on their individual personal growth.
Yeah, sure. So I qualified as a lawyer in Australia, worked in the UK, qualified as a lawyer in the UK, and then I moved to France. My husband is French, as you can tell from my surname. Um, and then I qualified as a French avocat, a French lawyer. I worked as a lawyer in various law firms, asset managers, for 20 odd years. And then I actually switched over into finance and I was structuring investment funds. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of stuff outside work. I've always been really interested in self-development. So I I myself did a lot of, therapy, group therapy. I became a certified coach, certified mediator. I was doing a lot of singing. I was doing a lot of other stuff. And it just gradually became more and more clear that I needed to move from where I was working in an asset manager to coaching and to doing a lot of creative stuff as well. So it was a long, slow movement. And initially, I was coaching women in law and finance. And then I've just becoming more and more specialized in women lawyers around partnership. So what it takes to become a partner and how to thrive when you actually become a partner.
Well, so if you're one of the things that you're working on with women and is specialization and the importance of niching down and owning a space, you're taking your own medicine.
Yeah, and I think what I've learned in terms of becoming a specialist is something that I apply every day with my clients.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It took a client saying to me, because I hadn't pushed all my chips into legal yet, and he said to me, you're talking to me about specializing. Why haven't you done it? And I was like, because I'm a hypocrite. That's why. I said, I think you're right. I'm ready. It was about 80% of my business was lawyers and law firms, and I hadn't pushed the chips in, and I think I was loathing the idea that I had to change my name from Sales Results Inc., which is a very scary name to lawyers, sales results, to Fretzin Inc., and now be that lawyer. And so, but I think it's one of those things that you worry that you're not going to get the business that you had because you're a specialist now. And is that something people should be concerned about, or is that just phony baloney?
You mean for lawyers?
Yeah, for lawyers, like that they should niche down. Like, are they really going to lose out on a lot of business by taking that step?
No, is the short answer. I mean, well, as in everything, I think there's nuance around it. It depends if you're like a generalist and that's what I mean, that's really what your niche is, then that's fine if you're sort of a general practice lawyer. But I think that the sort of women that I'm working with, they tend to be in the bigger law firms and they tend to want to do this and this and this and this and this and this. They're wanting to do too much. They're wanting to focus on too many different types of clients. And it means that it's just exhausting them. I'm working with someone at the moment, and she was talking about writing a book. She's talking about running a podcast. She's talking about writing a whole lot of articles, running events, um, going to these different conferences. And I was just listing it down to her, all the different things she was wanting to do. And she
Yeah.
said, yeah, I get it.
Hey, everybody, I know you're enjoying this interview. To hear more just like this, check out all of the podcasts on our website. Link is in the description below. You don't even have to coach me. I get it. Too
Yeah,
much,
I
too
get
much.
it
I
too
think
much.
from my perspective, the niching down, I think you think about like, all right, if I do this, is there a market for it? Are there a lot of people that need this? Number two, is it an area of practice that I enjoy? You don't want to niche down into something you're miserable in. And then lastly, is it something that is highly profitable, right? So you're niching down into something where you can't make any money. That's probably not a good day. So I think if you have those three elements, giving up an area of practice, maybe you're sending it out to people who can reciprocate and send you the work they don't do, right? So if I give up on residential real estate, but I'm referring those attorneys and then they refer me back to estate planning and things that I've decided to focus on, again, there's ways to maneuver that I think you and I would advise on. Um,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little. So
Sorry,
yes, please.
there are sort of different ways you can do it too, because what you can do is you can go up a little bit and say, well, in fact, everything I do is under a single umbrella. Or the other thing you can do is to say, well, I want to be known for this, but I'm actually still going to do a whole lot of other stuff
Yeah, yeah.
because it makes sense for me to do the other stuff. So yeah,
Right.
there's different ways of niching. So
Yes. Yeah. Thank you
yeah,
for clarifying that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it doesn't mean you have to give up everything to be a specialist. I think you can specialize and still do, I could be a specialist in personal injury for truck accidents. Doesn't mean I have to turn away, the dog bite or anything else that comes my
yeah,
way that I've done in the past.
yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly.
so you're working with women, and I'd love for you to share your take on how the marketplace, the world has changed for women, say in the last, 5 or 10 years. Is it the same? Is it different? And what are the things you've seen?
I'm actually, I was sitting this afternoon working on some figures for an asset manager about, how many women are there in asset management? It's a different thing than law, but it was just interesting to see that the figures are actually slowly, slowly changing. That you're gradually getting, well, what you've got in France, you've actually got ratios. You've got quotas for boards and executive committees for the number of women. And I think that because you've got the ratios, the numbers are changing. So there are gradually more and more women. And I think the other thing I'm seeing is that a change in the way that younger women see the world, that they're much more prepared to be out there. They're much more prepared to set boundaries, to say, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. Um, I I'd love to say that I feel as though women are being listened to more. Um, I did a survey maybe 2, 3 years ago. It was just a very, very informal survey of 20, 30 women in law and finance in the US, in France and the UK. And it was actually about public speaking. And about 80% of the women spontaneously said to me, I am so sick of being interrupted.
Hmm.
And I have a feeling that And I've got clients who say to me, I am so sick of not being listened to. People just don't listen to me. Um, and then at the same time, what I hear is women who say, well, when I get to a certain level of seniority, then people start to listen.
Okay.
So once I've proved myself, then people start to listen. So
Okay.
it's sort of, it's hard to make big generalizations.
But let's so sorry so everything you're saying sounds like a problem, a big problem. And what are the things that women should then be thinking about and angling towards to be heard? And again, it's not fair that they're not feeling heard and that that's an issue. But if they want to be heard and they want to increase the odds that they're going to have a shot at the bigger deals, at the promotion, at the equity, whatever it might be, what are the things that you're working with them on to make partner or to grow a book or to like what are the things they're the problems they're having, and then what are you working with them on every day?
One of the biggest things I work with women on is actually just speaking, just asking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I don't know if you see this with your clients, Steve, but one of the things, I mean, it just blows my mind, but there are still women who are, 8, 9, 10 years qualified, and they're terrified of speaking up in public. And I hear partners who say to me, yeah, the women aren't speaking. They're not speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not saying to people, yeah, I'd really love to be a partner. They're not saying to people, okay, can we talk about what I need to be working on? What's my progress? There are too many women who are sitting in their rooms saying to themselves, I want to be the best lawyer I can be, thinking that the best lawyer that they can be is just somebody who is sitting there writing the contract from 8 in the morning until whatever that time they go home at night, maybe with a break for lunch,
Yeah.
and just racking up the billable hours, and that's going to be enough. And it's just so not enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, something that I'm obviously being sought out for now internationally has been, I'll just tell you, I mean, the number of women that were engaging me and working with me going back even 5, 6, 7 years was probably 10% of my clientele. It's now sitting between 40 and 50% of my clientele.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
tells me a lot about where women are now and what they're thinking about building their books of business, having a seat at the table, having the power to speak up, and knowing that building a book of business and having, being talked about at the firm as someone who's contributing is leading to getting that voice heard and eventually being a leader, running the firm and driving a practice area. If you want to check out more about what Fretzin does every day to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker, please check out our services page on our website. Just go to the website, check it out. I know you'll enjoy it. Thanks.